Hey everybody, E-Freight here, and something a little different today. We are doing a Commander's Quarter style, shout out to Mitch, EDH, or Commander Deck Tech for Grand Arbiter Augustine the 4th. I'm making this deck because I made this deck for a friend of mine. I do a little mini tournament usually when each set comes out, a little, excuse me, a little, a little sealed thing, and whoever wins, I usually do something, and I decided for my group, it's like, I'm going to make you some EDH deck. Great thing about this is I have a ton of cards that I don't use that'd be great in EDH deck, but I'm trying to do these as close to budget as I can, so most of these cards are gotten from trades or through do trades just that were normally in my collection already. I think the grand total of actual money spent on cards is maybe $18, and 14 of it was Grand Arbiter. I also bought a smokestack and an Aloris Elocutor, which I'll get to later. But Grand Arbiter Augustine the 4th is a controlling tax commander. Taxing means everything your opponents do, you're going to make them cost more. So, as you can see, it costs 2 colorless, a white and a blue. It has white spells you play cost 1 less to play, blue spells cost 1 less to play, and spells your opponents play cost 1 more to play. So, anything your opponents cast have to pay 1 more mana. That's just the general. So what we're going to do with this deck is we're going to ramp some mana, draw a bunch of cards, control the board, and grind out a win with the various things. I'm going to take you through the cards that do that and why they do that and why I chose them. But there's your general. That's what it is. This is opposed to a traditional Staxes. This I'm going to call this more along the lines of death and taxes. And there's plenty of rooms to upgrade. Like I said, I literally made this out of stuff that's in my collection. I traded for a couple other pieces with some stuff I didn't need. But yeah, so there's that. So there's Grand Arbiter. All right. First step we have are going to be called the Mana Rocks. Mana Rocks are artifacts, generally, that ramp you, give you mana, do all this, that, and the other. Line these up in frame a little bit. There we go. Everyone is going to have a different thing. There's going to be artifacts that tap for some amount of mana because more mana is always good. I'm going to start with Everflowing Chalice here. It costs 0. With multi-kicker 2, for every 2 mana you pay, put a charge counter on it, and you can tap for 1 per charge counter. There is a minor proliferate sub-theme throughout the deck. So Chalice was a really good thing. It's 2 mana, it gets you 1 mana. You can start proliferating, and you're going to get it to, this can easily, as the game goes on, which it will, tap for 10, 15 mana even, depending on how long your game goes on and how much you're proliferating. Just little things. So Everflowing Chalice, good there. Wayfarer's Bauble, nod to Mitch. Great thing, fixes your land. It costs 1 to play, 2 tap and sack. Grab any basic, put it into the battlefield, tap, shuffle your library. Simple, easy, get you whatever color you need. The deck is blue-white, and it has a need at the end game for at least 3 3 blue sources, 3 white sources. So you're gonna want to get whatever you need to fix your mana. Though most of the cards are going to be 2 white or 2 blue. So whatever you have based on what you have. Probably go for blue most of the time. Next is good old Soul Ring. Can't go wrong with Soul Ring. Costs 1, tap for 2. Probably the best turn 1 you can have. Soul Ring into Soulflowing into Everflowing Chalice. Very cool. Play 1, tap, go from there. Next we have Mind Stone here. Mind Stone costs 2, taps for 1. You can pay 1 and tap, sack it, draw cards. You can trade it in later and you don't need it. You proliferate it up your Chalice a bit, and it's just 1 mana. Cold Steel Heart is the next one. This one, you pick a color, and it's like you're short on that second blue mana or whatever. You play this for 2. It comes into play tapped. Choose whatever color. You're good to go. Next is good old Azoria Signets. A signature always great. Costs 2 mana. You can pay 1 colorless, tap it, get a white and a blue. So this can kind of sort of ramp you, because this 1 land and this is turns 1 land into 2 mana with the artifact. So still good. Fixes your colors and stuff like that too. Really good. Next you have Azoria's Cluestone. I usually don't like playing things that cost 3, but this has quite a few upsides. It taps for either color. Comes into play untapped. Taps for either color without putting any more mana into it. Blue-white, tap, sack it, draw a card. Not bad. You're going to want to draw a lot of cards, so that's fine. Next is Sphere of the Suns. Again, costs 2, comes into play tapped. Remove a counter from it. You get 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Again, this with Proliferate, you can just keep this going up and up and up and up as well. So it's not a terrible thing to have either. It fixes your color early. If you can, try to leave 1 charge counter on it, so when you start proliferating, you can keep using it back that way. Because once you're out of charge counters, you can't put any more. Commander Sphere is next. 3 mana, tap for 1 mana of any color. Sacrifice mana should draw a card. I didn't have any arcane signets or couldn't trade for them, unfortunately. And then finally, we have Midnight Clock. Costs 2 and a blue artifact here. For 2 and a blue, you can put an hour counter on it. Get an of each upkeep, which counts all your opponents and you. put an honor count at when 12, you shuffle your hand in graveyard, draw 7 cards, and exile it. This has potential to be really good. If nothing else, drawing 7 cards if you're out of gas is just fantastic, and it still taps for 1 the entire time. So you have the ways to get your mana. Now, what are you going to do? Like I said, you are mostly a control deck, so we're going to get into some of your control options. We'll start with Blind Obedience. Enchantment, 1 and a white. It has Extort, which actually matters later. That can actually be a win condition. Because Extort, the black mana doesn't count for Commander Identity, don't worry. Whenever you cast anything, pay a white, only a white in this deck. Each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. So in a standard 4-player game, you're gaining 3 life every time. Pretty simple. All artifacts, creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tap. It's very good. It's good versus tokens, good versus a whole bunch of hasty guys, and just solid card overall. And it's enchantment, so it's a little harder to deal with. Next we have Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, 2/1 creature, and all non-creature spell costs 1 more to cast. That affects you as well, but with your general, you can get around that because you discount spells by 1 or 2 mana, depending if they're 1 or 2 costs. So it's not bad. It's a 2/1 first strike, does a good job on the ground. And again, the point is slow people down, make them pay. Next is Wingmail, exact same thing as Thalia. Except it's supposed to 2/1 first strike, it's a 2/1 flyer. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Simple, easy. Same type of thing. Redundancy is good. It costs 1 more mana than Thalia, but it does fly, so that's worth something. Next, you have Rhystic Study. Probably the most expensive card in the deck. Again, traded for it, so it wasn't bad. Whenever any opponent plays a spell, no matter what it is, any instant, any enchantment, any sorcery, whatever, unless they pay 1 extra mana, you're drawing a card, which is good because it's going to fill your hand and keep it filled as far as it goes. And, because you want to keep your grip full of 7 as far as it goes, as much as you possibly can, because more cards is more options, and that's always good stuff. Rhystic Study is a great card. And the fact is you're already paying, several other mana they're paying. If you have your Grand Arbiter, your Wingmare, and Thalia out there paying 3 more mana, are they going to willing to pay the 4th to put themselves back that far? If they are, that's fine. If not, that's whatever. So Rhystic Study. If you're first of several Planeswalkers, here's Dove in Hand to control. Again, same thing. Artifact, instant, and sorcery spells, so most non-creature spells. Any opponent cost, 1 more to cast. -1. You can say any permanent, just say no, you don't do damage to me. Good for shutting down generals that need to hit you or do something like that. And again, with Proliferate, you can keep this up as long as you get to the point you can proliferate at least 1 a turn. You can constantly shut down 1, whatever it happens to be. Again, another tax effect, and Planeswalker's hard to remove. Next is Aura of Silence. Same thing here. Artifact enchantment, your opponent's cost, 2 more to cast. You can sack it to destroy any artifact or enchantments it gets through you don't like. Another great tax effect. Again, slowed it down. Your game is slowed down in control, and then win that way. So, also good. Next up here, we have Ghostly Prison. Anyone tries to attack you have to pay 2 for each attacking creature. Now, with everything else, they had to pay extra mana to cast spells. This can slow a lot of attackers down, and force a lot of mana, and anyone who's trying to cheat stuff out, this can save you a lot of stuff. So, Ghostly Prison's there as well. And its sister, Propaganda. Autographed. Very nice. Same thing, each turn, each creature can't attack you unless they pay an additional 2 for that creature. Same thing as Ghostly Prison, basically, but it's 2 in a blue as opposed to 2 in a white. Simple, easy, effective, does what it needs to do. In the same vein here is Baird, Sword of Argive. 2 white, Vigilance, can't attack you or Planeswalker you control unless you pay 1 for each of those creatures. Again, all these things stack. So if you have this, Propaganda, and Ghostly Prison, every creature your opponent wants to attack you with, they have to pay 5 mana. Now, barring crazy infinite mana shenanigans, that gets really expensive really quick. So, Bard's quite good. Casamina is next. Anything that targets a creature or Planeswalker you control that costs 2 more. Another minor tax effects. You can make a wizard, draw, discard a card. Not the worst thing in the world either. She's solid. And again, when you proliferate, you can keep it going up. And she's more there to sit there and to make it harder for people to take out anything you have. That's problematic. This is God Pharaoh statue is next. This is just a flat. All spells your opponents cost 2 more. Just no problem. What there. Costs 6 mana normally. And at the beginning of my end step, each of your opponents, or your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. Very simple, very easy. Cost 6. It is fetchable with another card, which we'll get into because it's the only 6 cost artifact in the deck. It's legendary. You can only have 1 anyways. It's really solid. It's really good. It also is a way to potentially stall out and just win the game. Just make sure you remember your triggers. Next, we have a Containment Crease, which is a 2/2 flash, white, 1 and a white. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Anyone playing Kalia or anything where they're just putting any creature into play, sneak attack, anything else like that that puts a non-token creature into play, so any actual creature card, immediately exile. Not sacrifice. They don't get a graveyard. It just goes straight to exile. This can completely destroy certain decks. Can't do anything about it. And final, we have Hushbringer here. 1/2 flying lifelink, 1 and a white. Creature entering the battlefield or dying don't cause the ability to trigger. This only affects 2 of your cards, generally speaking. So it's not really that big a deal, and if you don't get the benefit of those cards, oh well. It's a really good card, a really solid card. Nice to have around, and again, it shuts down so many other things that come into play, destroy a creature effect, and all that type of stuff. People try to cheat stuff around. Again, name of the game, slow stuff down and do that. That's your tax and your control package. Now, eventually, things are going to get out of hand, so now we get into your removal as far as it goes. Removal, you're going to start off with Contagion class. Now, Contagion class here for 2 reasons. You get rid of any annoying 1/1, and mana dork, kill land or elf, whatever. More importantly, it's 4-tap, proliferate. You have a significant amount of stuff in the deck that requires a counter. Being able to get another counter for 4 mana, not bad. Once you do this 3 times, if you have your Chalice out, it pays for itself. You can always cast your Chalice higher too if you get it later in the game, but let you go higher as far as it goes. Simple, easy, effective. Keep proliferating, keep those charge counters going, and you're good to go there. Next, Swords of Plowshares, premium removal, exile a creature. Their opponent gains life, you don't really care. You have ways to ignore their life total and all that type of stuff. 1 white mana, instant speed, get rid of anything. It's fine, it's perfect, it's one of the best removal spells ever printed. Next is Wind of Abandon, which is in a similar way to Swords of Plowshares. You exile a creature you don't control, and then for each creature exiled this way, its controller gets a basic land. Put those cards into the battlefield, tap, and shuffle the library. So you get rid of anything you don't like that your opponents have, and do it. And also for 6 mana, you can overload and get rid of everything they have in play. And yeah, they get all the lands out their deck, which might be a thing, but you're still getting rid of everything they have, and if having all the mana in the world but no board is, generally not a good thing anyways. And you can usually come to it. It's a solid card right there. Poor man's Cyclonic in a weird way. Reprobation here, this is, general irritating utility creature thing. Put in any creature, they lose all abilities and a coward base toughness 0/1. Keeps all super types but lose other types and creature types. So if it's still like, I'm not even sure what a super type is, but basically it's like if you put it on like Avacyn for magic, everything you control is indestructible, and put it here. No, she's just a 0/1 that doesn't do anything. You can remove her, do what you need to do, or just shut her down. Also, not bad to put on generals that have to do something or have an effect. You can just shut generals down, and then you don't have to worry about them. To have Imprisoned in the Moon, this is any land, creature, or planeswalker. Just becomes a colorless land with tap, add for 1 mana. It loses all other card types, all other abilities. This is a fantastic card to shut down anything you want. Annoying planeswalker, get rid of it. Annoying land, get rid of it. Annoying creature, get rid of it. It's just there. It turns into a land, which makes it very difficult to kill, and they can't just easily sacrifice it or send it into combat on like Reprobation or something, and it's just taps for 1. Again, completely shut down certain generals, and they can't do it. So make sure your opponent's like, no, you can't do that. It has to stay in play unless you get rid of it, and it's no longer a creature. Very powerful card. Forsake the Worldlies, next one. This exiles artifact or enchantment. 2 and a white, simple. It's an instant, do it whenever you want. It also cycles for 2, which is important because cycling is you need card draws, you need to keep your hand. Like any control deck, you want as much card draws you can fit in and still do everything else you need to do. And this has double purpose. You get it late, there's nothing you want to blow up, cycle it, there's usually something you want to blow up. But if you get it early, none, okay, just feel free, 2 mana, end your opponent's turn, sack it, or throw it away, discard a card. Next up, we have Prison Realm. Any creature or planeswalker, same thing. When it enters the battlefield, you scry 1. A little bit of card selection there, 2 and a white. It's basically like, that just does that. Whatever card doesn't exist as long as this is here, and being an enchantment, again, hard to deal with. Next, we have the Wanderer. Again, there's a fair amount of planeswalkers in here because they're hard card types to deal with, and if people are attacking planeswalkers, they're not attacking you, which is good because as long as you have time, you're gonna win. And prevents all non-combat damage. So any burn spell, any sack a creature, deal 1 damage, any of that type of stuff, no, doesn't matter. And -2, exile creatures power 4 or greater. That's most creatures in EDH. Very simple, very effective. Once you start proliferating it, you can get every other turn, get rid of something. Selected removal, really good, really solid, just fine. And finally, the Smokestack. There are some degenerate combos with this. I'm not going to go into them because I didn't put them in the deck, so I'm not trying to be that guy for you. But no, you put a suit counter every turn, and each player's upkeep, so it starts in the upkeep, you sacrifice permanent for each suit counter. So I play Smokestack, and the first turn it comes around, it gets 1 suit counter. And then during each player's upkeep, you sack permanent for each suit counter on it. So you play Smokestack, it gets a counter, goes to your opponent's turn. Hey, guess what? Now they have to sacrifice something. You proliferate it 2 or 3 times, get rid of a couple things. Hey, your opponents have to sack 3 things. The next opponent sacks 3 things. Next opponent sacks 3 things, comes to you, sack Smokestack. We have to do a couple other things, but it's really good. It's reasonable. It's the reason the deck archetype is usually called stacks, and there it is. Now, sometimes single target removal isn't going to do it good enough for you, so now you get to your mass removal. Start with Day of Judgment. Very simple, 2 white, kind of the gold standard for most stuff, destroy all creatures. You know, simple, easy. Sometimes you just got to say nope. It does hurt you a little bit because you have a little bit of creature-based stuff going on, more than a traditional list, but just blowing up everything, it's good to have several ways to do this in any deck. Next here is Divine Reckoning, which is potentially in this deck significantly better because you can keep your Grand Arbiter out or anything else you happen to need. You choose one creature they control, destroy the rest. You can flash it back. You get 2 uses out of it. Simple, solid, good Wrath effect. Ooh, 2 cards there. Next, you have Ixodron, who I put in removal. Ixodron is also potentially a finisher. 3 blue, enters the battlefield. All other non-token creatures, this includes yours, so be careful when you play them. They just become 2/2 creatures. They have no abilities. Even if he leaves play, even if he dies, they still stay that way. This can shut down a massive amount of people. It makes him huge, and he can't... his power and toughness equals number face on creatures on the battlefield, so in a 4-player game, each have 4 creatures out. He's a 16/16. Pretty impressive. And like I said, even if he leaves play, those creatures that are face down, they stay face down unless they have a morph cost. They cannot be turned up. So he has double purposes. He can win a game for you, or he can just really, slow things down and tick people off. If you want to trade a bunch of useless 2/2s together, that's fine. Just remember, if your general's out, to block with your general or something right away so you can get your taxing effects back or whatnot. Ixodron, fantastic card. Here, again, is a Fumigate. Happens to be shiny. Destroy a creature, 1 life for each creature destroyed this way. You're going to take some lumps early on, probably. Once people realize what you start to do, and you're going to make a target on your head. Simple, easy. Ooh, sorry, shaky cam. This is all on my phone. 3 white, 1 life for each creature. Again, each one has 4 creatures. You gain 16 life. That's a pretty significant life swing, and you blow everything up. Pretty easy. It's a sorcery, not the greatest. It's still fine. And then you have Terminus, which is better than a lot of other ones. 4 white, but Miracle. If it's the first card you draw, pay it for 1 white. All creatures, bottom of your own libraries. Now, unfortunately, it's been errated. It doesn't affect generals like that, but you can just wipe out boards of anyone. It completely destroys tokens, because tokens, if they go anywhere, they're cease to exist. They'll hit a graveyard, but whatnot. Again, simple, easy removal. Very good to have. And then you have Fated Retribution. Destroy all creatures and Planeswalker, and if it's your turn, scry 2, because it's an instant. It's 7 mana, it's expensive, but being able to have, the guy playing the Super Friends decks or something, being able to say, no, F you, blow it all up. There you go. So, that's all of the mass removal there. Let's move all of that. But now you have all these cards. Now you have to have a way to get to them. So now we're going to get into your card draw suite. And you have a lot of card draw in this deck. Start with everyone's friend, Jace. Jace, good old Jace, Planeswalker. Is he shiny? He is shiny. +2 him, draw a card, -1. Target player draws a card, and you can mill 20 cards of the opponent's library as an alternate win con if you absolutely need to. Mostly you're going to be -1 of him, especially when you start proliferating, that becomes a free draw. Simple, easy, like a Jace. Muldrifter is one of the classic. This is one of the 3 cards that shut down by your Hushbringers and whatnot, because you don't get the draw 2 cards effect. You can evoke it for 2 and a blue, draw 2 cards, which you just basically cast it and then throw it away, or put it into play and you have a 2/2 and it draws you 2 cards. It's never a bad card. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst. It's solid. It also gives you a body for when that matters. Now, Treasure Mage is here. Treasure Mage enters the battlefield. This is in card draw because of what it does. You search your library for any artifact with converted mana 6 or greater. The only artifact in your deck with 6 or greater is God Pharaoh Statue. That's what you always get. That's why this counts as card draw. It's basically a second copy. Get your God's Pharaoh in your hand. You can start taxing people more and more forcing them to lose life. On the opposite hand, we have Trinket Mage, which gets any artifact that costs 1 on it. So Treasure and Trinket Mage, in addition, are the other things that are shut down in your deck, and Muldrifter are the things that are shut down by the Hushbringer, but that's it in your entire deck. Everything else is static. Get any 1 mana thing. Your options for 1 mana artifacts are generally, you can get Wayfarer's Bauble if you have your other ones out. That's the worst use of it. Soul Ring, never bad. Or you can get your Contagion class and start your proliferating. All very solid options. You can get any one of those 3 that you need. And that's just fine. Next, again, continuing on the proliferate theme, we have Tezzret's Gambits, 3 colorless and a Phyrexian blue, which means you pay a blue or you pay 2 life. Draw 2 cards, proliferate. Simple, easy, gets cards in your hand. It's sorcery, you only cast in your turn, unfortunately. Get counters and all the stuff that need counters. Simple, easy. Next, you have Factor of Fiction. This is one of the hardest cards to play with and play against, but it does draw you on average 2.5 cards. So it's still good. You reveal top 5. Your opponent separates them into 2 piles. You look at them. You put one in your hand, the other in your graveyard. You choose what you want. You force them to put the piles. And if someone's nice, they can do a 5 and 0 pile, and you can take all the cards. Most people aren't that nice. Apologies. Next here, in card draw here, not the greatest. This is also in for protection, but is in counter spell, draw a card, discard a card. Kind of expensive at 4 mana, but your general makes it cost 3. But again, it's drawing a card. Even if you draw and then discard to pitch an extra land, not bad. But it's one of the cards you can easily switch out for something else. But again, it's drawing cards and it's important. And again, this should have been in the Wrath pile. My mistake. Aether Sprouts. Each attacking creature, your owner puts it on top or the bottom of your library. It's an instant for 3 mana or 5 mana. 4 if your general's out in unit space. Yeah, all your creatures, they just go somewhere. Either top or bottom of your library, you can completely set someone back. I need to put this with my mass removal stack, which is over there. Okay. Is that okay? Future Sight here, 2, 3 blue. Again, this is when you start getting to the 3 blue cards. Top card of your library is revealed. You can play it at any point in time. It effectively draws you 1 extra card every turn. It's never bad. It does show your opponents what you have, slight downside, but it's worth it and you need to draw cards. Next is Dig Through Time, which is going to be a combo with one of your win cons, which I'll go over when we get to this. 6 and 2 blue seems expensive, but it's Delve. Exile cards from your graveyard when casting it to reduce cost by 1. You exile, 6 cards in your graveyard. Creatures got killed or whatever. You don't have almost any ways to get them back. Get rid of them. Look at top 7 cards, 2 in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library. It is a 2-card combo that you can use to win the game for, provided you have the mana for it, which I will go over that in another, in a little bit when we get to that. Next, you have good old-fashioned Braingeister. Braingeister here, X blue, target player must draw X cards. So you can use this to kill an opponent if their deck is getting low. You can use it to draw a bunch of cards yourself. It's not a bad thing to have. One thing this deck does not have, unfortunately, is a way to no maximum hand size. I didn't have a Reliquary Tower and couldn't find one to trade for it, or something along those lines. You put something in there, swap something out, not a big deal. Next, again, Jason, Genius Mind Made, pay 1, draw a card, +1, untap all creatures you control. You're almost never going to use that. And -9, gain control up to 3 target creatures. That's not bad. Any creatures your opponents control, you just take them. Again, with some Proliferate, you can get 2, 3 Proliferate counters a turn. You can activate this ultimate every, 4 or 5 turns and start stealing everything your opponents have. Pretty good. And finally, you have Dovin Baan here is Planeswalker again. You take any one creature, target creature gets -3/-0. Activated abilities can't be activated. It's good to shut down something, and that buffs them up. -1, gain 2 life, draw a card. Again, never bad if you don't have anything else to do. Get them early. And you get the emblem, which says, opponents cannot untap more than 2 permanents during their untap steps. That counts lands. You can completely shut a game down by ultimating him, and you can ultimate him with, the perfect, setup in hand the turn after you play him. So it's very good. Very possible to, do. Most likely it's going to take a couple turns, but it's a solid card, and it can pretty much completely shut people down because it's opponents. All right, now I went through that stuff. We're going to talk about your ways you have to win. This is your card that is going to win you a lot of games, and this is what you combine with Dig Through Time. Approach of the Second Sun, 6 and a white. If it was cast from your hand, if you've cast this spell twice, you win the game. Just flat out, you win the game. That's it. Otherwise, if it's the first time you cast it, you put it into its owner's library, 7th from top, and you gain 7 life. Treasure, Dig Through Time, 6 and 2 blue, getting rid of it, goes 7 cards. You put this 7 card down, you then dig through time, you get the card again, you cast it again. If you have the mana, and granted, that is a lot of mana, even delving, that's going to take you 16 mana. Very doable, but not, necessarily it's wrong that you can just grab the card, and hey, guess what? You win the game. Just no questions asked, you win. Doesn't matter what your opponent's life total is. Doesn't matter if they're indestructible and all that, blah, 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 blah. You just win. Very simple, very good card. Next, you have Heliod, God of the Sun. This is your way to win. You're going to have a decent chunk of mana, not a whole bunch of colorless, but you can just slowly grind out with this. He will not be a creature too often, probably. You don't have a whole lot of permanents that are going to be white, but you just start making 2/1 white cleric enchant creature tokens. And it doesn't affect your sacrifice because that's non-token creatures. So you can't cast the token. You just have a 5/6. It's not a creature. It's fine. It's an enchantment. Gives all your stuff vigilance for what it's worth, and you just start making clerics. End of your opponent's turn, tap all the rest of your mana, make a bunch of clerics, and you can just win that way. It's not the greatest. It's effective though, and if you have the devotion to 5, so you only need 4 more white mana symbols somewhere, you have a 5/6 indestructible, which is not bad either. Another win con, again with Proliferate, Azorius Elocutors. Get your upkeep, put a counter on it. If it has 5 more counters on it, you win the game. Whenever any source of any kind deals damage to you, you remove a counter from it. So this is thing, again, with Proliferate, you can get this up and you can win in like a turn or so, or 2 turns basically. But this is something that also is important. Another way to just win the game by sitting around and doing nothing and stopping people from doing stuff. However, if you see this, it will get targeted. You will be targeted, and that's a problem. Next, you have Volition Reigns. Volition Reigns, 3 blue, very simple. Enchant a permanent, you get anything your opponents have that's on the battlefield. They have a land you want, you got it. They have a creature they want, they have a general so you can shut down their deck, you have it. You have an artifact they want, you want another soul ring, whatever, that's fine. Volition Reigns, great. Steal something they have, win the game with it. It's great, it's fine, it's a solid card. A bit pricey on the mana, but not too bad. Now, Royal Elemental, similar. This is a 3/2 flyer for 3 and 3 blue. Whenever you play a land, after this guy's in play for the landfall, you can control another creature. So yeah, just start taking creatures. Play a bunch of lands, take some creatures. Again, not the greatest. It's a creature. It's vulnerable to stuff. You only get them for as long as you control them. But it can get rid of something annoying, and if he plays it late game, they don't have a whole lot of stuff available. They might have to blow up their own stuff in order to make stuff go by or whatever. Again, another way to win the game potentially, because you can just take their stuff and keep taking their stuff and beating their face with it. Not bad. Blatant Thievery is in a similar vein here. It's a sorcery though, 4 and 3 blue. For each opponent, you gain the target permanent that player controls. You gain control of it. This doesn't have a way to get rid of it like Royal Elemental. Once you cast this, you just have it. You make each opponent, you get one thing of theirs. Doesn't matter what it is, any permanents on the field. If it's a Planeswalker, it's yours now. Rest of the game, it's yours. Very simple, very easy, can be very effective, can win games by itself. And you have a little bit of life gain, but more importantly, just to have a big scary dude sometimes is Sarah Avatar. Not a whole lot of life gain, but having even something as little as say a 20/20, if you've lost half your starting life, still pretty impressive and can deter attacks. It's important. Next we have a small counter package, not the greatest counter package, but a small one to let you, protect your win cons. These are what these are for. Protect the win cons and stuff. If you get set up and someone's trying to disrupt it, these are the things you have for it. First you have Prohibit. Counter spell if it costs 2 or less. So early is a counter. If you kick it for the extra 2 mana, counter if it's 4 or less. It's get rid of all utility stuff. 4 is the cost of a lot of the Wrath of God, blow everything up type effects. Simple, solid, good card. Essence Scatter here, target creature spell. I didn't want an Essence Scatter. This should not be in the deck. Anyways, target creature spell. Get rid of any one creature. This was supposed to be a negate, if I'm not mistaken. And yep, this is supposed to be negate, so I need to find a negate and put it in here. And I know I have them somewhere, so I'm going to switch that out. My mistake. I thought I did that last night. Apparently, I was wrong. Next, good old counter spell. Counter any spell. 2 blue mana. It's just that spell doesn't happen. Dovin's Veto. Better counter spell. White, blue. Spell can't be countered. Counter a non-creature spell. And then spell stuff, again, it's target spell, 1 blue, blue. Nothing crazy, but again, your general will reduce it to make 2 blue. It works as a second counter spell. Like I said, this Essence Scatter will be upgraded to a negate. And finally, we have your land base here. You have 15 basic islands. Ooh, I believe, yes. 15 basic islands, including the couple white border ones. So, your Brain Geyser, the only other white border card, doesn't get lonely. Pretty good, because you have more blue and more blue mana symbols in your deck than white. You have 12 white lands, if I'm not mistaken. With that, 11 or 12 white lands, if it's the exact count. Again, get all your white stuff there. You are running 3 grabble lands. You have a Terramorphic Expanse. Sack it, get anything else. Evolving Wild, same thing as Terramorphic Expanse, get any basic. And a Bant Panorama, which for this deck is, again, exactly the same thing. Sack it, get a basic. You have a couple 2-mana lands, or either-or lands. They come into play tap. The Azorius Guildgate, taps for white or blue, comes into play tap. Tranquil Cove, taps for white or blue, comes into play tapped, and you gain a life. Halimar Depths, you play this, comes in battlefield tap, but you look at top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order, just taps for a blue, it's fine. Surge Refuge again, you gain a life, tap for a white or a blue, comes into play tap. Azorius Chancery? It comes into play tap. When it comes into play, return a land you control owner's hand. You tap it for white-blue. It puts you back a land, but it does help you. And then you have Karn's Bastion. Tap for colorless, 4 tap, proliferate. You have enough counters, the proliferating can work. So basically what you want to do, slow the deck down, do what you need to do, and just win that way. And that's all this is. This is for you, Mr. W. You know who you is. And I will see you once quarantine ends and we can get some of this done and I find that stupid negate. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.